Hi there, I'm Katy-Rose and welcome back to Map Your Potential. Today we're going to talk a little bit about those goals and resolutions where perhaps that momentum is now kind of dwindling a little bit, it's kind of grinding to a halt. So we are a week into 2019 and this is where often our momentum can start to kind of slow down, if not stop entirely. It might be that you've fallen off the wagon on your daily goal already, and actually then you feel like you don't want to kind of start again, and you don't want to start from scratch. So when your momentum is dropping, it's important to notice what was working and what wasn't. So the first thing in any change that we make is about reflecting on what happened, essentially. So whether that's, oh well, I was doing okay until this happened, or whether it was I forgot about it on that day, whether it was it got to the end of the day and I just hadn't even thought of doing it, whatever it is that was stopping you, it's about noticing and making a note of what that was that kind of pulled you off. Now when it comes to making changes, the most reliable changes, the ones that seem to succeed better, tend to focus around systems and around daily or regular action rather than focusing on the outcome. It doesn't mean you can't have a destination, you can't have an outcome, but it means that on a day-to-day basis you're focusing more on the system of getting there, the next step. So the first thing that can be helpful is looking at your daily minimum. If I want to write a novel, my daily minimum might be to write 1 word a day. Because if the option is writing no words a day or writing 500 words a day and it feels so hard to even vaguely try, I'm going to write 0 on some of those days and I'm going to feel like I'm failing. When I have the aim, and I did this for a little bit, when I had the aim of writing 1 word a day, I think I wrote for 300 days out of 365. Having a minimum daily goal is really helpful where you set the goal at what you can do on your worst day, so your most difficult day. So I currently, for this year, I have a goal to meditate once a week. I intend to meditate more than once a week, but if I have a bad week, I can meditate for 1 minute and I get to tick that off, because across the year I'll have done 50 minutes of meditation at minimum. And usually once you're there and you're set up, certainly out for myself, I tend to meditate a little bit longer, even if it's 3 minutes. Again, it's 3 hours across a year that I wouldn't have done otherwise. Sometimes having too much pressure on ourselves means we don't start at all, and that can be one of our biggest hurdles. It's important to establish your habit before you work on expanding or building on it. So if you don't have a foundation, there is no point trying to build tall walls, for lack of a better analogy. So rather than focus on, oh, I need to do 30 minutes a day, I need to get to this many miles, I need to do this much, that many calories, this much time, these many things, focus on showing up every day or every other day or 3 times a week. So I currently work out 3 times a week. When it gets to Sunday, in fact when it gets to Saturday, I go, oh, if I done it once this week, I'll have to do it today and tomorrow, because my week starts on a Monday. But it does mean that I can have a little bit of flexibility. If I usually work out on a Tuesday and this Tuesday it's completely not going to happen, it doesn't mean that I've failed or that I completely give up. A lot of our goals and changes and habits, they don't fail, we stop doing them. So rather than it being a failure, it's that we give up. It's that we stop showing up. So making your goal as easy as possible to show up, to start building that foundation. Thinking back to your resolutions last year, how many of them did you keep through to December? And actually how many do you want to just keep through to this December? Thinking about those baby steps that will add up. You're always going to be slightly closer to your destination if you take half a step versus none. And actually life is about the long haul. So most of the things that we do, we have done regularly. So you're thinking about habits like brushing your teeth, like having meals, having showers, that kind of thing. They are habits we have built up over time and found a number on a set and timings that work for us. And the reason that these things work so well is that momentum and motivation, and even willpower, those three things that are kind of those mental mindset and physical energy, those kind of aspects, they tend to expand with consistency and with little wins. So all habits are repetition, but if we lay around on the sofa for 3 days, our body doesn't have any reason to create the energy that we would want to go for a run. That willpower, that motivation, that momentum isn't there. If we get up and do a walk, twice a day for 2 or 3 days, our body is used to making that energy to thinking, oh, we're going to be doing some exercise today, we better prepare for this. And actually we can get out of that cycle of inactivity by forcing ourselves to do a small amount of activity. So that's one of the concepts behind a cognitive behavioural therapy technique, but it works in all sense. In terms of neuroscience, we know that that's how our brain kind of works, is that if we do little bits here and there and we do it regularly, it will build up over time. And it's okay to set the bar low, especially if you're currently at 0. So if you currently are not meditating every day, every week, if you are not exercising X many days a week, any improvement is an improvement, is progress. Again, we as human beings, we seek progress. We feel motivated, we feel successful when we have made some kind of step of progress. So if we feel like we're making progress all the time or regularly, our mindset and our brains and our kind of mental well-being is going to be much higher up when we come to do those things again. Another thing to be aware of when you're looking at these baby steps is the difference between a next project and a baby step. So an example might be that your next project is to start a YouTube channel or get your website up and running, or maybe even plan out a book that you want to write. However, the next step, at least when I'm looking at the next steps and those baby steps we want to take to build that momentum, are usually about 60 to 90 seconds long. So if it's going to take you more than a couple of minutes to complete the next step, my recommendation would be to break it down further. This can lead to long to-do lists. However, each step is completable within a few minutes. So it might be, email that person or do a quick search on those terms. It might be sign up for a Squarespace or WordPress free account. That would be one step, something you can do in 2 or 3 minutes, or even 1 to 2 minutes. Rather than a big, your next small project might take an hour. The little steps that we're breaking it into to make it doable, to build momentum, to mean that you can complete it even on those really bad days, would be about a minute long, 1 to 2 minutes. And the final point I want to talk about when we're looking at momentum and motivation is that we need to think about the verb, so what we're doing, but also what we're being, so the identity. So most of us want to change something about ourselves because of the way we identify ourselves. So I am a writer, I am studious, I'm punctual, I'm honest. Well, actually, to be a writer, one needs to write. To be studious, one would study regularly, or would respond to a certain situation by studying, or by writing, or by reading. So the important thing to also look at is that when you are thinking about the change you want to be, the change you want to see, is what verb, what action do you need to take about that, because that will help you find those baby steps. If you want to be confident in the next year, what are the actual baby steps? How will that look? What are the steps that are going to get you there? So thinking a little bit about the link between who you want to be and what you need to do on a regular basis in order to fulfill that. And that's really how you craft those systems that I mentioned at the beginning. It is about, well, if I'm going to be a writer, then actually writing daily is part of that. I will write a minimum of 1 word a day or 10 words a day. I did 429 words a day because it equalled about 3,000 a week, I think. for about 3 months, which worked very well at giving me output, although I found for me it meant that what I was writing was rubbish, so I stopped that after a little trial and error. So that's something you can think about in terms of the trial and error aspects of how can I work out what works for me and for my goal. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please click the little thumbs up below. If you haven't already, then please click the subscribe button that will be somewhere around here, and I will also pop a little card on the screen for another video that might be helpful in terms of mapping out those changes, and I will speak to you again in a future video.